I still remember the first time I walked into that house. It didn't feel like a home at all. Marble floors, glass everywhere, furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum, not a living room. It was quiet too, but not the kind of quiet that makes you feel safe. No, this was brittle heavy, like the walls were holding their breath. And somewhere inside that silence was a little girl who hadn't spoken in 8 months. Her name was Eliana, 6 years old. Her world had gone dark after the accident, and no amount of therapists or fancy gadgets could pull her back. Her mom, Victoria Lane, was a CEO who could bend entire boardrooms to her will, but when it came to her daughter, she was powerless. Most nights, Eliana just sat with that ragged teddy bear clutched in her arms, sketching strange symbols spiral after spiral like she was trying to say something no one could understand. Victoria used to stand in the doorway watching her, wondering if she'd ever hear her little girl laugh again. Then one day it happened. A sound broke through the stillness. It wasn't loud. It wasn't even clear. But in that heavy house, it felt like thunder. A laugh, short, almost startled. Victoria froze, heart pounding, and for the first time in months, she felt hope. But when she rushed in, Eliana shut down again, cheeks flushed, eyes down. Someone had been there. Someone had reached her. The next day, parked in her tinted town car outside of Crestwood Academy, Victoria saw it with her own eyes. Eliana was sitting alone under a maple tree, scribbling like always. And then he appeared. A man in a faded janitor's uniform, broad-shouldered, but moving with this strange gentleness, like every step mattered. His name was Daniel Ross. He bent down, picked up a stray pencil, as if it was something precious. Then right in front of everyone, he lifted his hands and signed. Just a flicker. Just a hello. But Eliana's head shot up, and then God, she smiled. Fragile, fleeting, but real. Victoria's breath caught. That man, that janitor, had cracked open a vault no one else could touch. Later that week, Victoria cornered him in the break room. She was a woman who never begged for anything, but this time her voice trembled. She smiled yesterday. I haven't seen that in 8 months. Did you teach her that Daniel just looked at her quiet eyes that seemed to carry whole lifetimes? She already knew. She just forgot she was allowed to use it. Victoria didn't know what to say. She was used to deals and contracts, not answers that cut her to the bone. From that day on, she watched as Daniel crouched beside Eliana like one would approach a wounded bird. Watched how he never towered over her, never rushed her, just signed slowly, patiently, until she responded. And every time their hands moved, something inside Eliana lit up. Victoria's chest ached because she had hired the best specialists money could buy, and not one of them had reached her little girl like this janitor did. Gratitude and shame tangled inside her until she didn't know which was stronger. But not everyone was impressed. Principal Margaret Steele called Daniel into her office one afternoon. She stood there, arms folded, perfume sharp as her tone. Your job is sanitation, not student engagement. Stay in your lane. Daniel didn't flinch, didn't raise his voice. He just looked at her and said, if she had spoken out loud, would you have told the teacher to stop listening? That shook her, though she'd never admit it. She sneered. You're not here to teach. Don't forget that. He gave her a small nod, the kind that said, I hear you, but I don't agree, and walked away. Back to his mop. Back to his silence. But Victoria wasn't letting go. She showed up at his tiny apartment one night holding Eliana's sketch pad in her hands like evidence. What did you do? She demanded. He flipped to a drawing of 2 hands almost touching and signed, I listened. She didn't cry. Victoria Lane never cried, but her throat burned. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. She needs something I can't give. Daniel's voice was low, steady. Maybe she doesn't need saving. Maybe she just needs a witness. It was the first time in years she felt someone was speaking to her soul, not her title. And then came the ultimatum. An email from the school board. If Eliana didn't speak at the annual Crestwood Gala, her scholarship would be reviewed. Polished language for revoked. Victoria stormed into the head office, heels hitting marble like gunshots. She's deaf, not defective. She communicates every day with her hands with her heart. Don't you dare reduce her to a microphone." The headmistress smiled thinly. "We have an image to uphold. If she can't participate, perhaps Crestwood isn't the right place for her." Victoria's voice dropped to a blade's edge. "You're going to regret that sentence." And she walked out. That night, she found Daniel again. "They're giving us 2 weeks," she said. 2 weeks to turn my little girl into a puppet." He studied her, then signed one word, "perform." She blinked. "You think she could?" He shook his head. "No, I know she will." And so in a dusty rehearsal room tucked behind the music wing, the three of them began. No flashcards, no speeches, just stories. Daniel taught Eliana how to breathe through silence, how to let each pause fall like punctuation, how to turn her poem into music without sound. Victoria watched from the doorway, at first, then stumbled her way in, fumbling signs, laughing at herself while her daughter giggled and corrected her. For the first time in months, they weren't CEO and child janitor and student. They were just people learning to speak each other's language. The night of the gala arrived. The gym was draped in lights, rows of parents whispering in expensive suits. Behind the curtain, Eliana stood trembling, teddy bear tucked under her arm. Daniel knelt, signed 3 simple words. "I'm here." She nodded once, then stepped into the spotlight. The room hushed. No mic, no sound, just a little girl raising her hands. She signed her poem, "I used to be quiet, like a window shut tight. Now I open, and I shine." The signs flowed like water, fragile but sure. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Even those who didn't know ASL felt it. This wasn't a performance, it was a revelation. When she finished, silence lingered sacred. Then Victoria clapped. Then another. Then the whole room thundered. Eliana smiled, small, uncertain but real, and walked off stage straight into Daniel's arms. She signed into his shoulder. "I did it." He signed back. "No, we did." The video went viral overnight. 6 million views. Hashtags exploded. Hands that speak. Listen in silence. Commenters wrote things like, "I don't know sign language, but I felt every word." But while the world celebrated, Crestwood's walls buzzed with resentment. Staff whispered. One teacher sneered. "So what now? Janitors run the curriculum." The principal called Daniel and slid photos from the gala across her desk. "You turned a school event into your personal crusade. You're terminated." He didn't argue, didn't beg, just nodded like he'd expected it all along. At the door, he turned back. "I wasn't trying to be seen. I was trying to help a little girl be heard." When Eliana didn't see him at the gate the next morning, her hands shook. "Where is he? Did I do something wrong?" She signed to her mother. Victoria's throat tightened. She was done watching in silence. That night, she stood outside Crestwood with cameras rolling, no designer suit, just jeans and a sweatshirt. "My daughter couldn't speak for months," she told the reporters. This man didn't give her a lecture. He listened. And for that, he was punished. Leadership doesn't always come with a title. Sometimes it comes with a mop. Her speech blew up online. By week's end, the school board voted. The principal was out. And Daniel Ross. He was offered a new role, Director of Inclusion, sponsored by Victoria's own foundation. The first day he walked into that office, he wasn't carrying a mop. He carried a photo of Eliana taped to his desk. That afternoon, she burst in, holding a crayon drawing stick figures of her mom, and him. Underneath, in shaky letters, "My family." Later that week, they painted a wall together in what used to be a janitor's closet. A rising sun, a bird in flight, open hands reaching. Victoria dipped her fingers in paint. Daniel guided Eliana's wrist. They didn't need to speak. They didn't need to sign. The silence was full alive. And then, just when no one expected it, Eliana whispered her first word in nearly a year. Barely a breath, but clear, "Daddy." Daniel froze, tears slipping before he could stop them. He signed back letter by letter, and she nodded like she'd heard it with her heart. That's how it happened. A janitor, The world dismissed a CEO who thought she had all the answers, and a little girl who taught them both that silence isn't emptiness, it's a language, if only someone listens. And maybe that's the real question here. Why does it take someone at the bottom of the ladder to remind us what humanity looks like? Should a man lose his job for giving a child her voice back? Or should we finally admit that titles don't make heroes? Choices do. So tell me, what do you think? Was the school right to draw the line? Or was Daniel exactly what every kid like Eliana needs? Drop your thoughts in the comments, your city, your country, your story. Let's see how far this conversation travels. And if this touched you even a little, hit like, subscribe, and share, because sometimes the voices that speak the loudest are the ones we almost didn't hear at all.